Thank you so much for making it here this morning, John.
Thank you, Sharon. Let's have a round for Sharon Mercado and the COA staff. They do a lot for the seniors and for the community every day and every week, and this is just one of the many events that they do for us. I'm John Mangiaratti. I'm the town manager here in Acton. This is the Java with John program. We are broadcast live thanks to ActonTV, and we're being watched all over the community. And the live viewing audience here, when you ask a question, which is going to be the fun part of the program, I'll probably repeat the question. So try to keep it brief, and that way it's easy to repeat so that the people at home can hear it. And then if you don't want to be on camera, just don't look that way. And you should be able to not be on camera. I have a lot to cover today. I have some special guests, so I'm just going to dive right in. Oh, first off, thanks to James for making breakfast for everyone. He's not just an expert chef, he's also our Veteran Services Director for Acton and Boxborough. So thank you, James. So this morning, I was at the town center we had the Minutemen March come through. They started at the high school, and they went through the exact replica march of Isaac Davis and the 40-plus Minutemen who marched to Concord 250 years ago this week. And so I was really excited to be part of that. I said a few things about the monument, which, as you all maybe know, we did a big refurbishment project on the monument this year, so it was nice to have that looking crisp for the celebration today. There was probably 200, maybe 300 people there this morning. It was a huge crowd. And about half of them, after the ceremony, walked to Concord. They're probably there maybe right about now. So it was an exciting event. Acton has a big part in our history, and there's a huge parade tomorrow in Concord, and there's stuff going on in Lexington too. But we had a nice celebration here this morning and today. So I was honored to be a part of that. And if you didn't, I know ActonTV was there, and so if you want to check it out later, you can. So other things I wanted to mention. We have a lot going on. We're gearing up for town meeting. This is the town meeting warrant. It is 70 pages. So there's a lot of good information in here. There's 40 articles that voters will be asked to vote on. Actually 39. One of them is just a placeholder. But there's 40 articles. And the meeting is May 5th, which is a Monday. And it will go to May 6th. The town moderator was here. If you were here at the last Java with John, she talked about the town meeting coming up. So this will be in your mailbox, hopefully Saturday, and because Monday's a holiday, it might not get there until Tuesday. But if you want to get a sneak peek at it, we published it online at actonma.gov/townmeeting, all one word. Or one of you can take this copy if you'd like after this program's over. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the articles on there, and I hope that you have questions about some of them down the road. Speaking of roads, the biggest, I think the most popular part of the Java with John program is the road construction update, so I'll get right to that. They were working here yesterday on Powder Road on the sewer project. I expect that work to continue, so thank you for your patience as we do work on Route 60 related to the big new apartment building that they're building on the other side of the river. It's in Acton entirely, but it's right on the Maynard line. It's going to be 250 units of apartments. 25% of those will be affordable, and they're moving pretty quickly. The garage was built, and they have the full amount of the houses, the apartment units framed, and now they're just building up. So that'll be online. I would say in less than a year. And then we're going to do this road. Sudbury Road will be done this season as well, which people are excited about. It's been a mess for a while now. So thank you, Corey York and the DPW. He's been wanting to do it for a while, but the utility company, you know that big base station thing over there? They keep saying they want to make major upgrades to that, which would require them to mess up the road. So we've been waiting for them to give us an answer. And I think we're finally at the point now where we're just going to pave it, and I think they're going to work around it. Kelly's Corner, it's going great. I think it's starting to look like a big, beautiful roadway, which it was supposed to be. Sidewalks are being poured. They poured the sidewalks in front of Roach Brothers this week, so the cement's probably dry by now. They are putting the conduits in, which is a big disruption for traffic, but what it means is they'll be able to turn the lights on soon. I'm not saying when, because every time I ask, they won't tell me, but the lights are there, they're ready to go, and if they're putting conduits in, I think that's a good sign that we'll have traffic lights on sometime this spring or summer. They are finishing a wall next to the Hosmer House across from Not Your Average Joe's. That wall should be done soon. So the project was supposed to be completed by June of '26. We think that most of the work of substance will be completed by the end of this calendar year. And I think what will happen for the next year will be the little details, like the plantings and the details. But the major bulk of the work should be finished this calendar year, which is on schedule. It feels like it's been forever, but it's on schedule. And so I appreciate your patience, and with these economic development opportunities that we really think will come from this, and it'll be easier for you to travel through there, and et cetera. So thank you for that. We are selling the little firehouse across from Exchange Hall. I think we're opening proposals on that this week. If we get a good one, we'll bring it to town meeting and ask for permission to sell the parking lot and that little building together. We have a lot of buildings in town, a lot of old houses, things like that, which we needed 75 years ago. We may have even needed 20 years ago, but we don't need now. And anytime we have property that we're not using, it just causes us to expend resources to maintain it. And if we're able to sell it, it actually puts property back on the tax rolls, which helps spread out the cost of taxes. So in a way, it would help us. In several ways, it'll help us. So hopefully we get a good proposal. I wanted to correct something. I try to get it right every time when I speak like this. A lot of times I speak from my memory, and it's usually pretty good. But last time I gave some incorrect numbers about the DPW project, so I wanted to correct those. We are bringing forward a proposal to town meeting and to the town ballot at the end of this month, funding request for a new DPW garage. The one we have now was built in 1969/1970, and it was too small then, and it's too small now, and it's impacting our ability to provide services to the community. It's not safe for the employees that work there. It's not adequate for the employees that work there. We don't have women's locker rooms, for example. There's a lot of things that we don't have that we should have in a modern facility. Even not a state-of-the-art facility. We're not talking state-of-the-art. We're just talking decent. We don't have that. We want to have a decent facility. The cost of construction is going to be approximately $700 per square foot, which is pretty expensive. It's expensive to do public construction projects, no matter what they are. But last time I gave an estimate for what the tax impact would be, and it was too high. I inflated it 3 times over. So hopefully you don't remember what I said. I'm not even going to repeat it. I'm not going to repeat it, but I'm going to give you the actual numbers. So we're going to be, to do this project, if it's approved, it needs to go to the ballot. The people at the election have to give it a majority approval, authorizing us to do a debt exclusion. A debt exclusion authorizes the town to collect the amount of additional revenue needed every year for the life of the loan, which will be a 30-year loan. A debt exclusion gives us the ability to collect additional tax revenue to pay for that debt for those 30 years. And then once the project is paid off, that debt exclusion authority goes away. So it's a temporary increase in the amount of taxes that we're able to collect from residents to pay for a major capital project. This is the funding mechanism that we've used for most major building projects throughout the town's most recent history. I mean, I haven't been here for long, but when we built schools, we did it that way. When we built the public safety facility, that's how we did it. When we built the most recent fire station, that's what we did. It's just how communities build and pay for big projects, because instead of saving up $30 million and paying for it next week, we say, all right, the people that are going to be here for the next 30 years are the ones that should pay for it. We shouldn't be saving up for it and then pay for it. And so you spread the cost out, just like a mortgage. If you have a mortgage, same idea. Anyways, if we borrow $35 million, the impact on the taxpayers will be $274 for the average single-family home. The average single-family home in Acton is about $870,000 value. So if your home is near that, it would be a $274 increase on your taxes next year. If you're in a condo, the average single-family condo, the average condo impact would be about $160. So it's that's what it is, and I think I just want to be very clear that it will increase taxes, but not to the extent that I said it would last time. So, and I'm happy to take questions about that during the question portion of the program. So I mentioned we have the town meeting coming up. That's May 5th. The town election is April 29th. We have a special guest here, our town clerk, Mercado, who I will pass it over to give you all an update on the election, and then I'll take the mic back, because otherwise they'll keep it, and then we'll continue on with the program. So Mercado, town clerk.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for having us here today. All right, can you hear me now? All right, so I just wanted to come in, stop by, remind everybody about the town election, Tuesday, April 29th, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Polls will be open again at R.J. Gray Junior High School, 16 Charter Road. We'll be in the gymnasium, so same as in the past. Things will continue to go smoothly for that process. And I wanted to remind everybody, the last day to register to vote, I need to receive your registration application, is tomorrow. Tomorrow by 5 p.m. It needs to be in-house. But I'm assuming most everybody in the house has been registered already. We can always check that information for you as well. You can check it for yourself through our website, through the state's website. There's multiple avenues you can go through just to double check your registration status. So I do have.
If you've done your census and turned that in, isn't that a form of registration?
That is not a form of registration. That'll maintain you on the active voter list. So what that does, if you do not return your census to us, we transfer you over to an inactive list. So the only thing that happens at that point is when you come to vote at the polls, you have to just show an ID, fill out an affirmation form. So it does slow down the process a little bit for yourself. And then that makes you active once again, once you fill out that paperwork. That's a great question. So the best thing you can do is return your census annually. That's a huge time saver right there, because we process those, get everybody on the voter list, and so there's no issues. We have accurate numbers for everybody. So with that, and then I also have the applications with me for mail-in ballots. I know there's been some confusion this year because the state did not send out their little postcards because there are no state elections this year. So if there are no state elections, the state will not send out those little postcards. But next year, we will see those postcards again. So I do have the applications. So anyone that needs one, I do have them available. I'll leave them here. I'll leave some pens for you. You can always drop them off at Town Hall anytime. We have the drop boxes. I've got the flag decorated drop boxes. You can use that. I'll get those. And then the last day to apply for a mail-in ballot, this is important, is Tuesday, the 22nd by 5 p.m. That'll provide the time for us to get the ballot to you by mail. But you do have the option. Again, there's multiple options to vote. We're trying to make this as easy as possible for everybody. Until Friday at noon. So you do have that option to come into the office, vote at the counter at the clerk's office, and until Friday at noon. So anyone that wants to vote in person earlier, prior to Election Day, you still have that option. Just come into my office. We'll take care of you there. So with that, Any questions that anyone has about the upcoming election?
If you go in person, where is it?
It's at the R.J. Gray Junior High School, the gymnasium, Tuesday, the 29th, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
And the deadline for dropping off ballots.
The deadline for dropping off ballot, if you received your mail-in ballot already, best to get that thing in early as early as possible. We like to get those organized, ready to go. And then, but the deadline is 8 p.m. on Election Day. It has to be in the town clerk's office by 8 p.m. on Election Day. We cannot accept them any later. So if you drop them off the next day or anything like that, it will not count. So just a reminder, get those ballots to me as early as possible. Question over here. Yes.
I have a question on the ballot.
Okay.
Is that okay?
About the merits of the proposal?
The
About-
DPW?
Oh, okay.
I'll take that one.
John will take that one. Any other questions related to the election process?
I got you.
All right, any questions? Please feel free to contact my office. You can call us, 978-929-6620, or email us, clerk@actonma.gov. Please reach out to us. We'll try to get back to you as soon as possible with an answer.
Thank you. Thank you, Leo. There's a question about the question on the ballot, which I'm happy to answer.
Okay, so, it's question 1. It says, shall the town of Acton...
Hold on, let me, if you're going to read it, I might as well give you the mic.
So it says, shall the town of Acton be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2.5 the amounts required to pay for the bonds issued in order to pay for the designing, constructing, equipment of a new public works facility to be located, et cetera. It doesn't say the amount that you're borrowing. It doesn't say $35 million. So it could be $2, it could be $20 million, it could be $200 million. It's like a blank check.
That was a statement, but I'll take it as a question. So the question is, the question that I've heard before, and I appreciate you raising it this morning, is why doesn't the ballot question have the price of the project on it? And I think the answer is that it has not. That's not how ballot questions are written. That's not how the ones that for the school or the fire station or the other schools have been written. It's the way that through Mass General Law that these debt exclusion ballot votes are supposed to be written. So, and at the time that the ballot was finalized and sent to the printers, we didn't have the total cost. So I think part of it is that the town meeting is the one that appropriates money. And the town meeting is the one that needs to know exactly what this is going to cost. But the town voters are the only ones that can allow us to collect more revenue than what's allowed under Prop 2.5. So town voters at the ballot will say yes or no if they think, depending on what they think about whether they want that project to be funded through a debt exclusion. Voters there's resources for voters to be informed about the cost of the project. And we do our best to share that information. And I think it's in our best interest for people to know the price, because I think most people would have the exact same reaction that you have is, wait a minute, there's no number here. What am I voting for? So I think it's our job to make sure that that information is known. And that's one of the many responsibilities that I have and that the select board has, is educating the finance committee. All of us are here to try to educate voters to make informed decisions. So to be extra specific, though, the construction cost is $35 million. The total project cost is slightly more than that. Sorry, the construction cost is $30 million. In total, we have to pay for the architects, the engineers, the designers, the commissioning agents, all the different things, and it ends up being $37 million. But we're only asking town meeting for 35 because town meeting appropriated some money a few years ago that we're already using. So in the end, that's a lot of cost information, and the ballot doesn't have that. The other part of this is that when you build a big project like a public works building, we go to town meeting with a cost estimate, like I just described. Then we finish designing the project. If people say yes, we would finish designing the project, and then we'd put out a bid package to the construction community. And they would submit to us bids. And some of the bids, they'll be all over the place. And hopefully, all of them will be below that number. It could end up being less than what we said. And then that would be the number that we use to ultimately borrow money and pay for the project. And so there's a lot of factors that go into it that, circling way back to your question, that make having the number in there problematic, because we don't know it usually at the time that the ballot's written. And it's also just not the way that those have ever been done, at least here in this community. So thank you for that question. I think that I didn't have any other updates to share other than some guests to bring forward, which I'd like to do before we open it up to full questions, unless this is on the very specific topic of. Okay.
Dean Charter was here and gave a presentation, and I got very many details. But what he also said on the Acton website, all of this information is there. I think you go to, I can't.
actonma.gov/DPW facility, all one word.
And then go down. All the money and all that other stuff is there. You can read.
Yeah, so thank you for that. And there's been a DPW building committee that the select board appointed to basically manage this project. It has some staff in it, and it has Dean Charter, who's a select board member, but also has volunteers from the community. And we've maintained a website with all the information that we had. When we thought the price was going to be $47 million, we published that on that website. And as we've worked to value engineer the project, and now we've reduced it by $10 million, we've provided the updated cost estimate. Both of those cost estimates are published on that website if you really want to dig into the details. Some of you may have an engineering background and you want to dive in. It's all there. And so we have all the information about the project. You know, we're updating it every week. So I encourage you to continue to check that out. Any other questions on the DPW project for now? You can always ask them later. That's kind of, sure, go ahead. What's your question?
Okay, well, it's not a question, it's a thought.
Okay.
This is an important decision by the town to have a new DPW building, and I've lived here over 50 years, and I know it's old. But I also know that all of us are facing pretty high tax rates. I mean, our total tax bill is pretty significant on our pocketbooks. Here is a thought. We have, and I don't know when it happened, on a Community Preservation Act, we chose out of, I think it was a potential up to 3%, to tax ourselves an additional 1.5%. Is it possible that perhaps we can reduce that to help with our tax bill? And at least for a period of time, maybe until some other project, the debt is, you know, on whatever debt we have on some buildings, when that stopped, maybe that we can then change the CPA back to a different number. Anyway, it's a thought to help with making the decision, and I don't know the process, so maybe you could describe that about the.
Yes.
Doable?
Yeah, so thank you. So the concept of the CPA surcharge is what it's called, and communities have to locally adopt it, and you can go from any number up to 3%, as you said. Acton, I think in the early 2000s maybe, adopted it, and with the focus on using it for community preservation purposes, which are open space, affordable housing, recreation, and historic preservation. So the additional surcharge of 1.5% that you all contribute after you pay your regular tax bill goes into a fund that's managed by the Community Preservation Committee. And every year, they do a public hearing, and they say, what projects are out there that we need to consider that would help preserve our community preservation. And so they buy open space, things like that. The state matches it, so we collect 1.5%. The state matches, and that the number that they match depends on how much money they have, but it often brings in additional revenue, and we use that for those purposes. In the last few years, there has actually been conversations about what that amount is. The conversations were focused more on increasing that. But at the time, there was a committee that looked at it, and they said, no, it's fine where it is. Let's not increase it. Although the needs that we have for open space and historic and recreation exceed the resources available, we don't want to put additional strain on the taxpayers at this time by doing that. So to lower it is something that could be considered as well. I think the process for that, it needs town meeting approval and maybe an additional step that I don't remember, but that's the biggest one, would be town meeting approval. And so that can be brought to a future town meeting for consideration if you'd like. And I think it's a thought. I think, and we like thoughts, we like ideas, we like potential solutions. I think we work all year long to try to find ways to deliver services within the resources we have available. And ideas like that are ways to balance the needs we have, and the resources available are always things that we're trying to find new ways to do. Yes?
I was just going to add to that, we've obligated some of those funds in the future, haven't we? Don't we have bonds taken out?
Yeah, so a lot of times they pay for a project right out of the thing, like right away, like we need a new,
We bought land.
yeah, you bought land for $1 million and we use $1 million CPA fund. Sometimes we just purchased the Weatherby land, which is the Moritz family off of Weatherby Street, beyond that field. That we borrowed money from the CPA. So we issued a bond, or issuing a bond, we're going to pay for that over not 30 years, I think 10 or 15. And then so every year we have to use some of the money set aside from CPA to pay for that. That you could still reduce it, you would just have less opportunity to do new things. So it's a consideration that should be, I think it's a good.
Saying $275, let's call it 280, okay?
274. 274.
Well, whatever. And a third of that
Yeah.
is what, if you took 0.5% off the 1.5, it would save, $90, or if it's a little, your tax is a little higher, around that. Is that going to make a difference or not? Of course, as you said, the state matches that.
Right.
When they have funds, right?
I think they match it every year. It's just how much they match depends on what they have available.
That's what I thought.
The other thing is there is a CPA exemption. You can go to the assessor's office, CJ Carroll, Marty, Tiffany, who's newer, but I think you probably know Marty. You can go to them and say, I'd like to apply for the CPA exemption so I don't have to pay that extra 1.5. And if you meet certain criteria, which are probably means-based, then you can get a waiver from paying that. So that's obviously depends on each individual, but that's also something that may be available to you too. So thank you for bringing that up, and I think it's a good discussion to have. I'd like to switch gears. We are in the Health and Human Services building, or the Human Services and Senior Center building, right? And we have that's managed, Sharon does a wonderful job managing the senior center and all the things that go on with it. But the overall department, the Health and Human Services Department, is managed by someone named Penny Funaiole, and she's right over there. So she's going to come up and talk to us briefly about something interesting, I'm sure.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. I see a lot of people throughout the week here, so I'm glad to chat with you. I have a quick question for you. Who in this room uses social media? Anyone have a Facebook account in here? 1, 2, 3, a few people here. Okay. So we put out something last week celebrating Public Health Week. And I think it's really important what we put out. So I'm going to go ahead and talk to Sharon. We're going to print out some copies so you can peruse it when you're looking through the newsletter and stuff like that. But I'll give you a quick highlight in that public health is a big, big thing. We look at health is everything. No matter where you are, what you're doing, it doesn't matter if you're at your job. We want to make sure you're a healthy person so you stay at work and that you feel good, right? So we're here in an everything. So it's hard sometimes to tackle all the things that we have to tackle with public health. So what I did last week was I highlighted employees that are directly doing some of our environmental public health work. So Matt Dow, our Director of Environmental Health, he's our head inspector. He leads the inspection team. Our inspectors are keeping you safe, right? Your restaurant, your grocery store, all of that. We're monitoring all that. We're also making sure that we have safe water, right? We have wells that we drink out of in this town. Our septic systems have to be maintained. We need to make sure that that's all working well. And then when there are new ones going in or or people are making changes, that we're making sure it's done exactly right so that we're being really conscientious about not only the future of our water system, but what's happening right now. So we highlight some of that stuff, but I also highlight all the workers that work in this building, right? Because we're here to help. There's a whole component of public health, which is connection to care. How are you seamlessly getting through the places that you need to go to? If it's something like you need help with an application for something that's a financial assistance, that's still about your health, right? Because your financial stability indicates how you feel every day. So that is something that Laura does here for folks under 60 and what Beverly does for folks who are over 60 for the town. They're doing great work to make sure everybody's set and helpful. So come to us if you need help, you have questions, we're here for you. Also, fun activities are good for your health. So that's why we have Sharon and all the team doing all these wonderful, enriching activities, thinking intellectually about things, thinking physically, how can we keep moving our bodies? So a major component of public health is aging in place, making sure that we can keep you independent as long as you possibly want to be in that space. So we're thinking about that as a team. We have our Acton nursing service and Sharon in the senior center. We're all talking about like what kind of ways can we continue to support you, either education or other ways that give you tools so that you can do that. So I want to just say that we're putting information out there, but I want to make sure you're getting that information too. So I'll make sure that you see some of that. In a week or two, we'll also have Nursing Week that we'll be thinking about. And we're very excited because we have really strong candidates who have applied to be a public health nurse for the town. And I think that you'll see a lot more activity from the nursing service. We do blood pressure clinics, we do stuff like that, but we're going to be able to do a lot more on the public health side of our work. And I'm excited about that. I do not know what that looks like, though, because it's important that we do something first, and that's going to start happening over the next year, and I would love to hear your voices in this process. We're going to do a community needs assessment. We're going to talk to people, right? I'm going to look at data, boring data. I like data. That's why I'm in this job. I'll look at the data. I'll see what the numbers say, but I want to hear what you say. I want to hear what other people say. I want to know from residents. So if you know residents that aren't engaged, let them know that we're doing this. We need that, like, word of mouth helps get things done. So please help us be a little ambassador so we can continue to understand the context of this community, build plans that address those issues, and then monitor, do we do a good job, right? And then do it again, because everything's going to change in 5 years. People change, concepts change, things change. So we just keep up on this process. That's public health, monitoring the health, and then doing something about it when we see something going wrong. So that's my big speech about Public Health Week. I just want to say one last thing, though, that get prepared. We want to, again, keep hazardous materials out of our water, out of our homes, and safe, because they also can be explosive, right? So we want to get that fixed. June 21st, DPW building, Saturday, June 21st, from 9 to 11:30, we're having a hazardous waste day. Come by, you put it in your trunk. We'll say, pop your trunk, we'll count what you got, and then you'll go in, someone will take it out. It's literally hands-off free. You put it in your trunk and then forget about it. We'll take care of it, okay? So thank you very much, and look forward to come back to you more about that community needs assessment and talking about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. So I mentioned town meeting. The biggest, one of the parts that I'm most focused on every year at town meeting is bringing a budget, an annual budget. So the people at town meeting actually are the ones who decide whether or not we have a town next year, whether we run services next year. We go to town meeting and say, it's going to cost us X to deliver all the services that we need to provide next year. And you all need to say yes, otherwise we can't do it. So it's an important part that you all serve as voters here to go to town meeting and make decisions on how we do things. We have zoning bylaws that are being proposed. We have a leaf blower bylaw that's being proposed. some other important things. But the budget is really one that I focus a lot on in my role here. We also have, in Acton, we have a budget director, and she is Ellie Anderson, and she helps all the departments manage their budgets and make sure that they don't overspend, make sure that we're planning not just for next year, but that we're planning for the next 5 years so that we have a more sound financial forecasting methods. Ellie also has taken on a role in improving the way we provide information to the public. Every year we do an audit and we produce an annual comprehensive financial report. It's kind of boring. I mean, unless you love numbers and you're an accountant or something, most people don't want to look at that 110-page document. But Ellie has created a new document that's meant for all of us, meant for me, meant for you. It's called the PAFR. And Ellie's going to come up and talk about what that is. And it looks like she has a couple with her.
Good morning. So as John said, I'm Ellie Anderson. I work in the finance department as the budget manager. And probably one of the favorite things that I do is generating financial reports to share information with you about how your dollars are being spent and the work that we're doing. So I've brought a bunch of copies with me. I'll hand all of them but one to John. This is our brief financial report. So this is an 8-page booklet which provides information about how the town's finances went in fiscal year 2024. So it takes our 100-plus page budget book, it takes our 130-page audit, and it simplifies all of this information into a manageable, approachable format that's supposed to be digestible for anyone who wants to know anything about Acton. So John's passing out some copies of these. We put it out on social media. We did a news flash. It's published on the town website. We've got copies printed at town hall. And some of the highlights that are in this document, there's an overview of the different types of revenue that the town collects, how that revenue is spent, how much is spent on municipal services, how much is spent on education, how's the municipal budget spent, our liabilities, our debt service, employee benefits, how Acton compares to similar communities on tax bills and budget growth and other metrics like that. And then on the back, we've highlighted a few of the items from the last fiscal year that we're particularly proud of, like hosting the largest town meeting in this community's history, or the reaccreditation of the police department, or our award-winning sustainability and finance offices. So we're hoping that you enjoy this document and you can share it with other people who you think might be interested. So yeah, that's the brief financial report. That's correct. So it's on the same page as all of our other financial documents. I believe it's nested under the town manager's page. Also on that page, you'll find all of our budget documents. You'll find the audit. You'll find the quarterly reports that I prepare and present to the Finance Committee. So there's a whole host of information if you're reading this and you want to dive in a little deeper. It's all there for you to look at.
Nice work, Ellie. So this is a great report. I encourage you to check this out. Put it on your fridge. Maybe, I don't know, if you want. But definitely check it out, maybe on your coffee table. I wanted to the information in here is very useful and helpful, but I wanted to add a little side note of an interesting to me anyways, about this seal. Anybody recognize that seal, the town seal? If you follow town documents, for a while we've been using a different seal, more colorful one, perfectly circular. This is one that I found on a 1951 annual town report. And I thought it looked better. And so we've been trying to roll that out. And the town seal is a pretty big, it's an important thing. It goes on official documents, so you can't just change it. So I actually went to the select board and said, select board, do you all agree that it's okay to start using this seal again that we used 70 years ago? And you know, probably longer than that. And they said yes. So we're going to slowly work this seal back into documents. We're not going to change all the cars that have logos on the side of them, but it's just a little inside baseball about town seals I thought you'd be interested in. But so let's get to your questions. I look forward to answering any additional questions that you have. Yes, is this about a fog line? Is this about a fog line? Oh, okay. Usually you ask the fog lines in front of your street, you want them to be on Piper Road? No? Robbers, okay, sorry. Carry on. What was your question? I'm sorry.
Just last time, and I've got to bring it up, over where the women's club is in that intersection, there's a crosswalk there on Crossing Main. I went to push the button to cross the street and it did not work. It did not flash or anything like that. So, and I did it twice. Loading is coming. I don't know if it's been repaired. I hope so. And someone like me takes a while to cross the street.
Is this in front of the library or further down?
And further down here, not Magog Woods.
Okay, well, I'll look at that. Thank you for letting me know.
And the other thing is, the other day I received a phone call. I usually let my voicemail pick it up, but I listened, and it was a scam. And I didn't have time to phone it into the police department, but it said there was a clock, so I knew it was a trunk line. And it said that they were from CBS. And I said, well, what do you want? Well, I said, where are you? And she hesitated and said, Massachusetts. And we want to do a survey about your benefits with CBS. And I just hung up. I said, you're a scam? And I hung up. And I got to go tell the police department, but I haven't had time.
That's good, and I appreciate you raising that issue. The scammers are working very hard. They're working around the clock to try to trick people into giving them money. And they do it 10,000 times a year, and if they get 10 people to go along with it, they're successful. So you're gonna get text messages on your phone saying that you have overpaid or unpaid toll receipts from going through the New York toll plazas or the New Hampshire toll plazas. None of those things are real. They're gonna call you and ask you about gift cards. It's all scams, and every time we try to give out education about the scams that have happened, they come up with new ones. So I encourage you to be just like you were, be vigilant, and if someone really needs information from you, they probably won't cold call you like that. And I think you just use your senses. If it doesn't feel right, even a little bit, take a step back and maybe say, hey, do you mind if I call you back? And if they give you a number, even then, they've already thought of that, by the way. The scammers know that trick. So that might not even be good enough, because then they'll give you a number to call back, and then you're sunk. Then they got you. So there's no perfect answer. All I'm saying is just use your instincts, and if it doesn't sound good, just take a step back and hang up or say, I gotta go. But appreciate you raising that scam awareness. Other questions?
The better thing is to just don't answer it if you don't know who they are. You know, when it says who it is, don't answer it. If they really want you, they'll leave a message.
Yep, that's a good one too. You don't have to answer the phone. Unless the town of Acton's calling.
Even now, you never know.
Okay, yes.
On these scams, I'm so glad I've got caller ID. Because if I don't recognize it, I don't answer. So the other day, I didn't recognize it, and something comes on. I think they were hanging up, but you could hear the boiler room in the back of the voice.
Yeah, use your caller ID. Caller ID is a huge help. Thank you for that. Yes, any other questions? Yes.
Stowe Street at the playground.
Stowe Street at the playground.
It's at the intersection of Stowe and Martin.
Across from the farm, yep.
When it rains, there's no way for the water at that intersection at the Stowe Street side to drain. It's like a lake, and it's never been dealt with. I believe it's been brought up before, but it continues to be a problem. Honest to God, it is more like a lake than a puddle.
So drainage issue at the intersection of Stowe and Martin. Got it. Okay, got it. Thank you. Okay, well, we don't have to have questions. You know how to find me if you have any coming up. Oh, yes.
I have one more. Is Patricia coming? Did she speak at your new economic?
Patricia. Thank you. So just last week, we had a new economic development director start working with her. Her name is Patricia Costa, and she was at the march this morning. I don't think she went to Concord, but I'll have her at the next one. She's getting acclimated. She actually had 3 ribbon cuttings on her first day, and she did a nice job. And we're actually launching an economic development strategic plan, which she's going to be out in front and helping educate and discuss with the community. So thank you for mentioning that, and we certainly will have her on the program very soon. All right, well, thank you all. Again, if there's information that you're seeking, actonma.gov, or you can call my office, 978-929-6611. We're happy to help you, and Sharon knows how to find us too. Keep asking questions, and thank you for being here. Have a good day, everyone.